This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We're honored to continue and share the teachings of the founding father of science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We're honored to continue and share the teachings of the founding father of science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We're honored to continue and share the teachings of the founding father of science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We're honored to continue and share the teachings of the founding father of science of
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Daily with Doc and Becca. My name is Becca Dukes, and I'm super excited because you know, when you have multiple shows and you don't get to all the questions because you have so many people watching and really getting interested in what they can do for themselves, their family, and their friends, well, today's going to be a special show here on Thursday, as we are going to be catching those things that you may not have gotten answers to on Monday on Pharmacist Ben Bites with Pharmacist Ben and Coach AJ. So I've got you covered. Today on Daily with Doc and Becca, we are going to go deeper into some of the things that so many people are interested in. And one individual specifically had questions about each and every one of these. And the nice thing is, the body's a complete system. You treat one part, you're going to be also helping other parts. So if your questions did not get answered and your body really needs to know or you need to know what your body needs to help those critical organs recover, and the metabolic support that we all need to make sure we're paying attention to, strategies to support the body during kidney malfunction, and also actionable steps to help you navigate liver health challenges. Well, we're also going to be covering natural things that you can do to help manage cholesterol. And folks, not all cholesterol is bad. And I am super excited as we have Pharmacist Ben Fuchs on with us today, who has really taken an interest into one, the body, two, the different things that happen within the body. Because as a pharmacist, you know, he had to learn more about nutrition than doctors did. So he has dove really deep into the nutrition side, and we are super excited to have him as part of our team. If I could have Pharmacist Ben Fuchs up on the screen with me, that would be absolutely fantastic. And hello, Pharmacist Ben, how are you today?
Hello, good to see you.
You as well. And one thing I forgot to mention, folks, if you were invited to this program by somebody specific, make sure that you get back with them. We want to maintain the integrity of this show as a resource for an amazing community. And that is a community of health-minded individuals, health coaches, certified health coaches who just want to help people. This program is being sponsored by dailywithdoc.com. So we have articles there. We have good foods, bad foods list. We have episodes and also to sign up for our email list. So make sure that you sign up there. And if you're live with us, welcome. If you're not live and you want to be, go to zoom.dailywithdoc.com and get registered. The next time you go to that zoom.dailywithdoc.com, you should be allowed to enter if you're not on our bad kid list. Ben, you know, it's pretty sad as adults we have to have a bad kid list.
Bad kid list?
The bad kid list, yes.
What do you mean, bad kids?
You know, I don't know if it's people get bored and have to misbehave to, you know, or just they're miserable and want to make others miserable. But there's so
bad,
many
like
people
children, bad children list with kid. Did you say KID?
How about adults acting like children?
Okay, yeah. You know, we're all inner child. We all have an inner child.
We do.
We all have an inner child. Sometimes you see people when they're angry, you can almost see their inner child coming out when they're frustrated or something. Road rage.
Yeah.
Not that, you know, I have it too. But yeah, we all have this inner child that's frustrated. Most of us, not all, most of us. And a lot of that I'm sorry to interrupt you, but a lot of that inner child, a lot of the behaviors of the inner child and the dissatisfaction, frustrations of the inner child come out in our adult actions that impact our health. For example, Popeye's chicken. That's a classic example of inner child wanting to be satisfied, wanting to satisfy their drives and their urges, you know, or ice cream, or, you know, all the things that we do, or not wanting to do things. That's our inner child saying, no, I am not going to the gym. No, I am not going to take my supplements. How many, you know, it seems like women are more into health, and that's why in longevity, it's a lot of women, you know, you probably noticed that, than men. And almost you could hear, like, when a woman, and I talk to a lot of ladies who want their husbands to supplement, they won't do it. A lot of times you can hear the guy's inner child saying, no, I am not going to take my supplement. I am not going to do my Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Yeah, so yeah, our inner child impacts us in all kinds of ways. And part of being a mature adult is to be able to address, you know, to be an adult and to address the inner child's behaviors or inner child's decision making that affects us as adults and as individuals in real time.
Well, and I think because the whole body is connected, when we've got things going on with our kidneys and our liver, we're just not in the right mindset.
That's exactly when you need to do it. It's like exercising. Yeah. Like when you don't feel like exercising, that's when you need to be going to the gym. You know, when you don't feel like sleeping, that's when you need to sleep. When you don't feel like getting out of bed, that's when you need to get out of bed. And that's the inner child. No, I will not get out of bed. No, I am not going to go to the gym. And I'm not putting anybody down because I got it myself. It's just part of being human. So anyway, back to our story, back to our problems, back to our issues. What's the number one thing we need to get healthy? If we're less than maximally healthy, or God forbid, if we're even worse, dealing with a chronic degenerative disease, what's the number one thing we need to reverse that?
Well, first
it's not supplements.
It's not supplements. We have to want to
Even
get better.
more, want is important. Want is important, and I would say want is probably the first thing. I think you're right. But what's the second thing? You have to believe. You have to believe
that it can happen.
You have to believe it can happen. That's correct.
Yeah.
Want is definitely first. You got to want it. Okay? You got to want it badly. You can't, it's not just going to happen. If you're dealing with chronic kidney disease, you had a lifetime to do it, a lifetime to behind the development of whatever you're experiencing now. So you have to want to change. You know, how many, what is this? What's that joke? I forgot what that joke is. How many therapists does it take to change a light bulb? One, but the light bulb has to want to change. And it's kind of like that.
Okay,
We got to want it. We got to want it. And you got to want it badly enough. That's first of all. Second of all, you got to believe. You got to believe it's possible. We're being told it's not possible. We're being told it's genetic. We're being told it's virus. We're being told it's essential. We're being told it's idiopathic. We're being told messages that say we can't do it. And the whole idea of longevity, the way I look at it, is this is about empowerment that says you can do it. But first you have to believe it's possible. Okay. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. We did this on our Bright Bites. Chemical reactions go both directions. There's two processes, biochemical processes at large in the body: anabolism, catabolism, building and breaking down. But they both happen simultaneously, except one happens more than the other. When you're breaking down, you're net catabolic, but it doesn't mean you're not anabolic. When you're building, you're net anabolic, but it doesn't mean you're not catabolic. It's just the arrow's going more in one direction than the other. What we want to do is we want to reverse. It's all about reversal. That's why when people say cure, it's not really accurate. How do I cure? Cure is magic. It's superstition. This is about science. It's reversibility. So we want to first have, obviously we want. Secondly, we want to believe it's possible. Once you want and believe, we'll give you the know-how, because everything's reversible. We are going to give you the know-how, at least in terms of chronic degenerative diseases, which is in large part what we address on this program and with longevity. Although I will say it's very important to emphasize that if you're healthy, you need supplements too. If you're healthy, you need to do all the things that we talk about when you're sick. You still have to do it because you don't want to get sick. But if you're sick, you need to do it with more vigilance. It's more serious, obviously. So first, want, obviously. Second, believe it's possible. Please believe it's possible. Then we'll show you how to do it. So you want to take the first one, chronic kidney disease?
Yeah, let's go with the chronic kidney disease.
Before we address chronic kidney disease, let me say, all chronic degenerative disease, not 99%, all of it. If it's chronic, meaning it goes and goes and goes and never ends, chronic means it just continues and never ends. Degenerative, meaning instead of regenerating, building, you're degenerating, breaking down. Okay, that's chronic degenerative disease. There's various terms for it. Non-communicable disease, sometimes you'll hear that term, meaning it's non-infectious. But basically, we're talking about as the body's breaking down. It's heading in a catabolic direction, a breakdown direction. All of it, all catabolic disease, catabolic-based disease, chronic degenerative disease, whatever you want to call it, is underlied, that's the right word, by the triangle of disease. All of it. All of it. And I know everybody says, well, we like when you repeat yourself and, please, repetitions reinforce it. I get that. But, one day I'm going to wake up and nobody's going to need me anymore. And that would be perfect. And that's what the dream of every ethical healthcare professional should be, to get them out of the way. And that's what longevity is about, to get me out of the way, to be your own authority, to be in charge of your own body, because your body didn't break down because angels sprinkled something on your head. It broke down because something you're doing. And we have to understand that. So just stop doing that. Like the old joke, the lady says, doctor, it hurts when I do that. Says, well, stop doing that. So just stop doing it. It's really that simple. So what's the triangle? I know we've said it a million times. I'll say it again. Digestion, blood sugar, and then what's called I call it the adrenal thyroid axis. Some people call it the adrenal or the thyroid HPA axis. HPA stands for hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal, whatever. It's the stress system and the thyroid system. And just talk about that real quick. The stress system is your emergency generator. When your electricity goes out, when Comcast or XL or whoever your electrical company stops, if you're smart, you'll have an emergency generator. And that emergency generator will keep you going until the power company restores the energy, restores the electricity, the power. The body has an emergency generator system. It's the adrenal glands. Now, unfortunately, the adrenal glands are not only your emergency generator system, they're also your hormone system of secondary choice when we get older. This is particularly for women. When the ovaries start making female hormones, the adrenal glands pick up the slack. All of this comes from cholesterol. The adrenal hormones come from cholesterol. The stress hormones come from cholesterol. I'll bring this up because we're going to talk about that in a second here. Okay, so the adrenal glands, your emergency energy glands, among other things, and then your thyroid is your regular energy system. All cells do what they do under the control of thyroid or thyroid hormone. So muscle cells, muscle, skin cells, skin, heart cells, heart, intestinal cells, intestine, spleen cells, spleen. All cells do what they do under the control of thyroid hormone. If you are hypothyroid, what's that telling you? Your muscle cells aren't going to muscle effectively. Intestinal cells aren't going to intestine effectively. Spleen cells aren't going to spleen effectively. And I'm saying it this way because I want to get your attention, everybody's attention, to understand that all our organs are not organs, they're cells. And focusing on organs disempowers us because you can't do anything about the organ except take it out or poison it. If we don't see it as a cellular issue, we see it as an organ issue, we're going to be condemned to surgical procedures and medication, all the things we're condemned to. But when you see it as a cellular issue, now you can say, okay, what is the cell missing? What is it needing? And the good news is it's not a lot of stuff. It's just a few things. And this simplifies the entire process. So you got your adrenals and your thyroid as the third point in the triangle disease. Now, recently, we've been kind of marginalizing that third point, one, in the interest of simplicity, but two, in the interest of just, you don't really need it if you do the first 2 points. Because the most important impact on the third part of the triangle are the first 2 points. So the first 2 points are the digestive system, blood sugar system. Digestive system, blood sugar system. Why? Not because I'm making an assertion here, but it's just logical. How do things get into the blood? They get into the blood through the digestive system. How do things get into the cell? They get into the cell through the metabolic system. And that's what happens. You get into the body, you get into the cell. And then the thyroid and the adrenals respond to that. That's the third point. And then you're off to the disease races once your thyroid is suppressed, secondary to your adrenal glands being activated, following stresses. The adrenal glands, your stress system. So but I'm going to leave that aside from now. I'm going to talk about the digestive system, the metabolic system. Digestive system is how stuff gets into the body. The metabolic system is how stuff gets into the cell. When I say stuff, by the way, I mean energy, because it's all about energy. Everything is energy. All of reality is energy. The body is energy. The cells are everything's about energy. When we're sick, it's an energy problem. We're not processing energy. It's all about energy. How does energy get into the body? First point through food. Second point through metabolism, through cells, into cells. That's it. That's health in a nutshell. You now have your PhD. You have your MD. That's it. Anything else is extra. It's it's digestion and metabolism. Boom. End of story. So, for me to keep saying it over and over again, I'm happy to do it, but it's unnecessary. It's just 2 things. Now, there is a little bit of a problem in the sense that we don't eat necessarily like lions and tigers and bears. We got our brains and we got our minds. And that's why I always say health is multidimensional, spiritual, mental, emotional, physical. And that's why when we say you got to want it, you got to believe, that's not physical. Wanting and believe is spiritual, mental, and emotional. So we have to accept that if we're not willing to address the first point and the second point, there's something going on spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. Or if we are willing at first, but then we plateau, how many times have you run into this? People are willing at first and then they kind of plateau. Spiritual and mental emotion are involved. It's a little bit out of our scope of practice to talk to people who have spiritual, mental, and emotional. Nonetheless, as fellow humans, as collegial, being collegial to each other, it's something that we want to talk about. The impact of godliness, whatever that is, non-denominational, our mental nature, the way we think, and our emotions, our feelings. We have to be able to address those things. However, in the interest of time, in the interest of simplicity, everything from a physical standpoint is going to involve what we eat and what's getting into a cell, not by assertion, but by logic. Things get into the body first by your foods. They get into the cell second through the metabolic processes, which we talked about on Sunday. So kidney disease. What do you think kidney disease is going to be and what it's going to involve? Guess, based on what I just said.
Well, it's cell disease.
It's going to be food, it's going to be sugar. Go on Google right now and look up dysbiosis and chronic kidney disease. Tell me what you find. Look up insulin, hyperinsulinemia, metabolic syndrome, and kidney disease. Well, what are you going to find?
Okay.
You're going to see intimate connections, but you don't need to see it. I don't need studies. I don't need research. It's logic. So, given the way we eat, number one, the kind of foods we eat that didn't exist 100 years ago, 150 years ago. Number two, the amount of foods we eat, and that's really what you're talking about. The kind of foods we eat affect the digestive system, and the amount of foods we eat affect the metabolic system. That's it. It's in a nutshell. The beauty of nutritional supplementation is it will allow you to eat less food, or it will allow you to replace the nutrients that are missing from the food, and it will allow you to eat less food. It addresses the 2 points. It's perfect. Now, do you have to avoid eating the Popeyes? And I pick on Popeyes because I was just talking to a lady today about her son, and her son can't stop eating Popeyes, but he has heart palpitations. It's a 17-year-old kid, heart palpitations and brain fog and heartburn, and he's terrified. And the doctors are saying, there's nothing. Well, it's just genetic. We don't know. We don't know what it is. And I'm saying, if you're feeding him Popeye's chicken and you're feeding him French fries, he can't stop eating it. There's going to be a link, and lo and behold, she did a food diary, and that's exactly what she found. It's not that complicated. So kidney disease is the same thing. Now, it turns out the kidneys, fascinating organs, they filter the blood. Everything we're talking about, by the way, when we talk about in the body, we really mean in the blood. Things go into the digestive system, then in the blood. Okay, so when we say in the body, we don't mean in the digestive system. We mean in the blood. Digestive system is like the hallway. Why would it make sense to have a hallway before things get into the blood? Because the blood's a sacred space, so things have to get vetted. They have to be cleared. However, over the course of time, the intestine loses its vetting capability. And this has to do with the kind of foods we're eating and nutritional deficiencies. The first point in the triangle of disease from a physical perspective is caused by or the end result of food and nutrition. Now, there's SMEP, spiritual, mental, and emotional. Of course, they're going to be involved too, but from a physical perspective, it's going to be food and nutrition. So once things get into the blood, now you're off to the disease races. In terms of the kidney filters the blood. So of course you're going to have kidney problems because the kidney is the filter. So it's like having, with your colander spaghetti, imagine filtering spaghetti, but there's a bunch of seeds in your spaghetti or a bunch of dust or dirt in your spaghetti. The filter's going to get clogged. And that's what happens. Kidney disease is a clogged filter. So if your filter is clogged, what do you do? Help me understand. If your filter's clogged, what do?
You have to clean the blood.
You clean the blood. Yes. It's not hard. It's not hard to understand. It might be hard to do, but it's not really hard to understand. Have to clean the blood. And because the blood is circulating everywhere, that's true about everything. You got to clean the blood. I call it dirty blood. If you're a medical professional, call it hypercoagulable blood, viscous blood, all of it. So for kidney disease, the most important the closest cause of dirty blood is sugar. And kidney disease and dysglycemia or diabetes, whatever you want to call it, like this, they're intimately connected. Kidney disease is a classic sign of metabolic syndrome. And when it comes to metabolic syndrome, it's both sugar and insulin, but our control point is sugar. So you go low sugar, you go keto, you use your healthy blood sugar pack. You make sure that you're keeping the blood clean or cleaning the blood with your ultimate enzymes, with your glucogel caps, with your nightly essence. These are all strategies for cleaning the blood. With N-acetylcysteine, with the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, with plant-derived minerals. These are all strategies for cleaning the blood and for improving the blood fluidity. FucoidZ. You got a whole slew of supplements that a diabetic should be using, or a kidney patient should be using to clean the blood, and also diabetics. Then there's nutrients for helping your body handle sugar. The blood sugar pack, chromium, vanadium, selenium, niacin, MSM. There's zillions of supplements, magnesium. There's zillions of supplements that help the body handle sugar. Kidney disease is a blood issue. What does the kidney do? It filters the blood. So obviously it's a blood issue. How does this blood get dirty? Through the metabolic system and through the digestive system. Is this all? This should be so logical. This is non-medical. And lest anybody be under the illusion or be laboring under the illusion that medicine is a science, let me disabuse you of that right now. It is not a science. It's an art, perhaps. And they utilize some scientific ideas, but it's not a science. What we're talking now is science. How cause is related to effect. If you hear a doctor say it's idiopathic, it's genetic, it's a virus, it's essential, they don't know what they're talking about. Every cause has an effect. So clean the blood. Clean the blood. Just talked about the sugar side of things. The main way the blood becomes dirty is through a leaky gut. So address the food and patch up the gut. How do you and the intestine, work on intestinal health. I-26 is a superstar for all blood issues, for all intestinal issues, thus all blood issues, thus all kidney issues. So I-26 should be part of the kidney protocol. It should be part of the chronic kidney disease protocol. Why? Because LPSs, they call them, lipopolysaccharides, are toxins that get into the blood when your intestine's messed up, when you're dealing with a leaky gut, when you're dealing with inflammatory issues from bacteria. Now, in addition to leaky gut, intestinal permeability that comes from dysbiosis, dys meaning messed up, biosis, bacteria, disturbances in bacteria, and that really is the very beginnings of everything, is dysbiosis. Once the gut is inflamed and it's inducing leaky gut, now you got another problem. Now you're not absorbing your nutrients because they're all absorbed through the intestine. And once the intestine is inflamed, you're going to be dealing with malabsorption of nutrients. So you got this 1-2 punch of toxicity plus starvation or malnutrition. How do we address that? Well, in addition to all the things you're going to do for the gut, nightly essence, I-26, Dr. Aria's liver cleanse, FucoidZ, collagen peptides, all of it, my ultimate microbiome, daily digest, is a bunch of supplements that we have. You use nutritional supplementation to pound the body with nutrients to override the malabsorption. Now, that's not the best strategy because you're still not absorbing. So if you pound it, you're not going to absorb everything, but it's the best you could do until you stabilize everything. Right? Now, one of the things that happens when people pound a lot of nutrition, if they're dealing with this inflamed intestine, is they'll bloat, or they'll get gassy, or they'll get diarrhea, or there'll be some kind of digestive discomfort or digestive symptoms because they're not absorbing. So you use your supplementation slowly. That's why I always say sip on Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Don't try to do too much at once because it'll pass through your intestine, your small intestine, go to the large intestine, and you'll be crampy and bloaty, and you'll say, I'm never going to touch Beyond Tangy Tangerine again. And we've all heard that. So you want to do it slowly, but you want to do it. So you pound the body with nutrition throughout the day, gradually, and in as many divided doses as is convenient. One of the beautiful things about the liquid nature of BTT is it allows you to do that. If you're doing it's a little harder with the supplements, you got to do 3 times a day, 4 times a day, 5 times a day. But you want to do high concentrations in as divided doses as you can. The ultimate in divided doses is sipping. But if you can't sip, like with some of the supplements, you can't, they're capsules or tablets, you do them in as many divided doses as you can, every hour, every 2 hours, every 8 hours, whatever you can do, whatever's convenient for you to do. And that's chronic kidney disease. But guess what? That's liver disease too. And elevated cholesterol is a little different because that's not really a disease, but I'll talk about that here in a second. But metabolic syndrome affects the kidney and the liver. What are the kidneys and the liver? They're your detox organs. The kidney filters the blood, but the liver cleans the blood. The liver purifies the blood. All disease is cell disease, but all cell disease is preceded by dirty blood. How does the blood become dirty? Through what we're eating and through the breakdown products that end up getting into the cell. So it's really could not be any simpler, although it's not necessarily easy, because we got a brain and we got a mind and we got emotions, and we eat from our brain and we eat from our mind and we eat from our emotions. Lions don't get diabetes in the jungle. They may get it in the zoo, but they don't get it in the jungle. Giraffes don't get diabetes in the jungle. Rhinos don't get chronic degenerative diseases in the jungle. They may die, they may get eaten by something, you know, but they don't get the diseases we do, because they eat what they're supposed to eat, and they stop eating when they stop. The only issue, this should be as simple as can possibly be. The only issue that we run into, unfortunately, is this whole idea of resistance to changing foods because we get mental pleasures out of it. And so it always comes out, and I'm always very conscious of this, like, eat your vegetables, you know, like, mommy, you know, eat your plate, dude. It's a food thing that we have, and you got to get past that. And it's everybody really has to get past that. Like you were talking about the inner child, but if you're sick, you really have to get past that. You have to say, and it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy to get past that, but it's possible. So believe. So if you're out there dealing with chronic kidney disease, you can change. I guarantee you. I've seen it. Becca's seen it. AJ's seen it. We've seen it so many times. Believe it. Liver disease, by the time it's I think he said stage 4, by the time it's, you know, really the liver's really fibrotic, it's a little tougher, but again, same idea. Now, the liver is also responsible for toxicity, for purifying toxicity. So if toxins are getting into the liver, and prescription drugs are toxins that have to be purified in the liver. So if your medical professional is giving you 6 different prescriptions, and that's not uncommon. The average person over the age of 65 is on 4 to 6 prescriptions. The average person over the age of 40 is on at least 2 prescriptions. So if your doctor's giving you a lot of prescriptions and you're dealing with metabolic syndrome, that's putting more burden on your liver. So now your liver's got to deal with that. So for the liver, there's things you could do extra to support detoxification. All your B vitamins are going to be important. The amino acid glycine, which is in your pig pack, is going to be important. The amino acid glutamine, which is a building block for glutathione, which is in your TMR shake, or your the new vegan shake that's out, or really any of the shakes. That's going to be important. FucoidZ can support liver health. So these are things you can do specifically to support liver's detoxification. The liver is very, very sensitive to fats. It's where fats are processed. So ketogenic diet is going to help the liver. And that ketogenic diet is going to help everything. So you got to be, and the ketogenic diet is not a high-fat diet. Let's get that, you know, I want to clarify that. The ketogenic diet is a high percentage of your calories from fat, but doesn't mean you're eating a lot of fat. You know, there's a misunderstanding about the ketogenic diet. Oh, I can do that. French fries, and potato chips, and you know, and pizza and cheese and all that. No, it's a low-calorie diet. That's the key. And of those low calories, a high percentage comes from fat, but it's still a very low amount of fat in the big scheme of things, because the entire caloric intake is 1,100. Your entire daily caloric intake is less than 1,200 calories. And lest anybody think that's a problem, it's not hard to eat 1,200 calories a day if you're only eating when you absolutely need to eat. And that's how we have to look at it. So the liver is very responsive to fats. It's a detoxification system. It's also the liver is also a storehouse for all of the nutrients that build up calories. The sugar is stored in the liver. The fat is stored in the liver. So the more calories you're eating, the harder it's going to be on the liver. So again, you eat less and you eat different. So that's for the liver. That's for the kidney. Ask me about Parkinson's disease, I'll tell you the same thing. You know, ask me about Tourette syndrome, I'll tell you the same thing. Ask me about heart disease, I'll tell you the same thing. Ask me about cancer, I'll tell you the same thing. It's the same thing. As far as cholesterol goes, I cannot, for the life of me, I can't understand why we had this crazy idea about cholesterol. Doc's been talking about for years. I've been talking about it for years. Anybody who understands anything about biochemistry has been talking about it for years. But yet we have this mainstream idea. And by the way, when we talk, quick digression here, when we talk about belief and we talk about willingness, we have to first understand that the medical model is not designed to take care of chronic degenerative disease. That's not in its wheelhouse. The medical model is for repairing a broken leg, and it's great for that. Excels at that. That's what they should be doing. Nature abhors a vacuum, and we've created a vacuum because we don't want to participate. So the doctor says, fine, I'll take over. More business for me. And it's not the individual doctor that's saying that. It's the industry. The model says, we'll do everything for you. They'll even tell you about your seat belts. They'll even tell you got to wear a helmet on your head when you're riding your bike. It's called medicalization. Oh, you can't sleep? We got a drug for that. Oh, you're thinking intrusive thoughts. It used to be a commercial. I haven't seen it for a while, where some lady's thinking, walking through a train station, and she's thinking a bunch of thoughts. Oh, well, we got a prescription. You're thinking too much. It's, you have too many thoughts. No problem. We got a drug for that. That's called medicalization. And it's the end result of us leaving a vacuum for them to fill by our abdication. You fix me. And so with cholesterol, they don't know what the heck they're talking about. They don't know what they're talking about from a biochemical perspective. And any biochemist who's worth their salt will tell you that. Not just me, not just Dr. Walken. If you're sick, you should go to a biochemist, not a doctor. The doctors commit a fraud because they'll fake out that you're healthy. And it's not about individual doctors, please. About the model. So the biochemistry of cholesterol is different from the clinical chemistry of cholesterol. The clinical, and this distinction is very important. Clinical chemistry is the chemistry of tests, the chemistry of statistics, the chemistry of numbers, the chemistry of the clinic. It is different from biochemistry, which is the chemistry of biology. We're not statistics. We're not numbers. We're not statistical beings. And by the way, this whole idea about functional medicine now you have people saying, oh, I don't go to doctors. I go to a functional doctor. They're even worse because they're the ones using the tests. They're drugging you based on the tests, and they're pretending that they're better. It's even worse, functional medicine. They're the ones who are making Quest Diagnostics a billion-dollar company. They're testing up the wazoo, testing for this and testing for that. The dumbest is the allergy tests. The allergy, where they take a little piece of food and they put it in with your blood and they mix it up. And you're over here saying, hey, what's it say about my body over there, doc, in the dish that you have over there? That's what that allergy tests and food allergy tests are. You're over here and you're the sick one. He's like, hey, over there, what's that dish saying about me? It's so crazy when you think about it. It's like, it's absurd. In philosophy, there's this idea, AJ, me and AJ were talking philosophy the other day. You ever hear reductio ad absurdum? Reductio ad absurdum is when you take the most ridiculous case to prove a point. It's reductio ad absurdum. It's absurd. Absolute craziness. Cholesterol is a classic example of that. Why? Because they notice that people have heart attacks have high levels of cholesterol. Thus, cholesterol causes heart attacks. That's the leap. Not what's causing the cholesterol. Why is the cholesterol there? Oh, the cholesterol's there? We'll lower the cholesterol. So, of course, now we're all on statin drugs so we don't have cholesterol. What is cholesterol? Is it a word? No, it's the most important molecule in the body. It's the most important molecule in the body in the sense that it gets converted, tweaked into almost everything that's responsible for having a good life. It gets converted into your sex hormones. It gets converted into your rebuilding hormones. It gets converted into your vitamin D. It gets converted into digestive system molecules. It gets converted into a strong, healthy skin barrier. It is the absolute most multifunctional raw material in the body, and the idiocy of shutting down its production by poisoning, yes, I said that word, poisoning the cells is beyond idiotic. There's no words for it, the stupidity of it. Now, it turns out that if you shut down your cholesterol production, you're not going to have a blockage. And so it'll look like you're functioning better. But if you understand what cholesterol is doing, you can see why it's so crazy to do. Also, it turns out that there's some anti-inflammatory benefits to statin drugs. And that's why you're starting to read, if you pay attention to some of the news, oh, they're using statin drugs now for dementia, and they're using statin drugs for arthritis, and they're using statin drugs for other things because there's some anti-inflammatory properties to statins because cholesterol is involved in the inflammatory system. So you're going to get some anti-inflammatory effects with cholesterol, but that doesn't mean that it's beneficial to shut down cholesterol production. The real question is, why are my cholesterol levels high? That's the question. Not let's poison the body so it doesn't make cholesterol, but let's see, why is it high? So why would it be high? Well, let's think. All logic. There's no medicine here. Nothing you have to have a degree for. It's all logic. What does cholesterol do? It's building. It makes things happen. It's the difference between a fern plant and a human. Humans move. They think. They ambulate. They have muscles. They got a nervous system. These are all driven by cholesterol. The nervous system is driven by behavior is driven by cholesterol. The myelin sheath is cholesterol, or largely cholesterol. The muscles depend on cholesterol. So we are somehow giving the body signals that say we should be moving, but we're not moving. That say we should be neurologically active, but we're not neurologically active. We're sedentary. We're sitting on our butts all day. But our body is getting signals that say, action, we're moving. What is that signal? How does the signal for action and moving that trick the body into thinking it's supposed to be action and moving, acting and moving, how does it come in? Same way anything else comes in, through food. What food is it? It's not cholesterol. What food is it that tells the body it should be growing, it should be moving, it should be active? Sugar. And it's no accident that dysglycemia and hyperinsulinemia go hand in hand with too much cholesterol. And it turns out that elevated sugar and elevated insulin are also risk factors for heart disease, which they're blaming on the cholesterol, which is caused by the insulin and the blood sugar. You want to lower your cholesterol naturally, simply, no drugs, no doctors, no statins, from the comfort of your own kitchen, go ketogenic, low calorie, help your body handle sugar, use your sweeties. And it's no accident either that the most important or the most famous of the essential nutrients for helping us deal with cholesterol is also a key component of the sugar metabolizing system, niacin. Niacin lowers your blood sugar and lowers your cholesterol. Niacin is part of what's called the glucose tolerance factor, which is a complex of molecules that help you handle glucose. So you want to lower your cholesterol? It is so simple to do. Go ketogenic. Reduce your intake of sugar. Simple, but not easy, because we love sugar. And we don't love sugar because we're weak. And we don't love sugar because we're, addicted, although those are all part of it, weakness and addiction. We love sugar because we're evolutionarily hardwired at the brain level to love sugar. And nefarious sorcerers who manipulate the food supply have figured out how to hack into that system. And to complicate matters, our lives are so dissatisfying that to the little pleasure we get from Ben and Jerry's or Snickers bars or whatever the kind of sugar that we love to eat, how are you going to tell somebody who's doesn't have enough money or has a relationship issue or their job problem, this, that, the other, not to eat Ben and Jerry's, which is their one source of pleasure in their life? It's difficult. That's why I say it's simple, but not necessarily easy, but it's possible. Anybody can do it. And it is absolutely 100% not a medical issue. It's a lifestyle issue. So for kidney disease, clean the blood. The most important source of dirty blood is the digestive system and the blood sugar system. Treat yourself like a diabetic, which you probably are, but even if you're not or haven't been diagnosed as such, which is another story, and patch up the leaky gut because endotoxins, toxins from the intestine, are associated with diabetes. or with a kidney disease. Then the liver's your detox organ. Clean the blood. Prescription drugs count as a burden on the liver. Dr. Arya's liver cleanse is another great strategy for the liver, by the way. Work on intestinal health. The liver is part of the digestive system. Avoid heavy fats. The liver's got to process fats. Look, ketogenic diet, the liver's got to process sugar as well. Use detoxification supporting nutrients like selenium, glutamine, and glycine, B vitamins, methylating agents, they call them, ultimate enzymes, which contain methylating agents, choline, that all for the liver, that support methylation, which is part of the detox process, support glycination, use glutathione builders. Glutathione is the body's most important detoxifying element. It's built up from glutamine, the amino acid glutamine, as well as the amino acid cysteine, which you can get from N-acetylcysteine. And then for cholesterol, treat yourself like a diabetic. Reduce your intake of high energy foods unless you're running or you're working out. It turns out that people who are lifting weights, working out, athletes recovering from surgery, they're going to make more cholesterol because they're repairing. They're in growth process. Little kids, people are growing. If you're really growing, that's different. But if you're like most of us and we're sedentary, reduce your intake of these high energy foods that are specifically targeted at making things happen in the body. If things aren't happening, you're not moving around, you don't need those. And that's how you lower your cholesterol. Does that answer your question? Those questions?
I think that answered a lot of questions. Okay. Now, we've got lots of comments. Carrie says this is fantastic lecture.
It's not a lecture. I'm not lecturing anyone. What's that?
Oh, so she said nefarious sorcerers. Ain't that the truth? But okay, so you were talking about liver detox. We did have a question from Olga wanting to know what's the
best detox?
Well, can you use diatomaceous earth?
Yes, diatomaceous earth, bentonite clay. Those are all chelate things. Plant-derived minerals are going to do the same thing. So yes, diatomaceous earth, bentonite clay, kaolin. Plant-derived minerals. One of the most important roles for plant-derived minerals is detoxification. And we don't talk about it enough. I think we do talk about it, but we don't talk about it enough. That's one of the main.
And it's going to be a whole lot easier than using diatomaceous earth or bentonite clay or kaolin clay.
Yes. All those. And so plant-derived minerals will do that. What's the best detox?
Stop eating.
Don't put the toxins in. Exactly. That's the best detox is don't put the toxins in. Have you noticed, I don't want to be gross here, but we're all adults. After you fast for a day or two, you get the best bowel movements. Boom, everything comes out. After you fast, when you don't have any food, right?
Yeah.
And that's another issue, by the way. Chronic constipation can be caused by the wrong foods, and that builds everything up. Chronic constipation is associated with hypothyroidism, and that builds up the toxicity, and that's all going to burden the liver. There's even nutritional deficiencies that can lead to chronic constipation. For example, B vitamin deficiency causes something called beriberi. B1 deficiency. Thiamine deficiency causes beriberi. What does beriberi mean? AJ loves this. I'm going to pick on AJ. What does beriberi mean? I can't, right? Because beriberi is a neurological disease that affects your ability to do things. Well, guess what? There's something called GI beriberi. Gastrointestinal beriberi. And gastrointestinal beriberi, like all beriberi, is caused by thiamine deficiency. But now, instead of I can't, systemically and neurologically and through the whole body, you have I can't on the GI system, and that's constipation. One of the most important things you could do for chronic constipation is make sure you're getting your BTT, your B vitamins for the neurological issues. You'll be shocked at what vitamin B1 can do for chronic constipation. Not because it's like magnesium or vitamin C or probiotics, because it's supporting the stool itself, but because it's supporting the musculature. You know, in order for us to eliminate properly, the muscles and the nerves, the neuromuscular system has to be propelling the food through the digestive tract. The neuromuscular system is frozen by B vitamin deficiency, B1 deficiency. That's GI beriberi. And by the way, this is why fasting works. And I know I've said it before, but it's really interesting how when we eat, our digestive system slows down. So this idea of eating all day long will end up causing the digestive system to become sluggish, which is why when you fast and don't put any food in your system, things get eliminated. Why would it make sense that when we eat food, our digestive system slows down? Logically.
Well, because there's not enough pushing through. But
No. Why would the body say, okay, there's food here, we're going to slow down?
Want to absorb it.
So you can get nutrients.
absorption.
So you can get nutrition. You don't eat, that's not necessary anymore. This is why when you don't eat for an hour, like for half a day, or eat breakfast, then you don't eat till dinner, you'll hear your tummy rumbling. And we, in our infinite wisdom, we say, oh, that means I'm hungry. No, it doesn't. It means you're cleaning. It means your body's, that rumbling in your tummy is the body cleaning itself out or trying to move, trying to get started again. And then what do, of course, in our infinite human wisdom? We shut it down. And this is the reason we do this, is because we don't know, because nobody's telling us. We're counting on people who don't know themselves to take care of us. Ask your doctor if he knows that the rumbling in your tummy is peristalsis, is your stomach starting to kick in again, the movement, the propulsion of food through your digestive system again. He doesn't know that. They don't teach him that in medical school. They say if you're constipated, you take a drug. Or if you're constipated, you get an enema. Or if you're constipated, you do something mechanical. And so it comes right down to wanting and believing.
This kind of, and we got questions, but this totally opens up a reason why I have clients who have had some type of surgery for weight loss, and they have the constipation. They can't eat a lot. Their body they're losing muscle, not fat.
It's if you are getting a kidney, a bariatric surgery for weight loss, it's just, you're just killing yourself. It's the bariatric,
grossly misled.
Bariatric surgery is one of the most awful, horrific surgical procedures anybody have done, because now you've shut down the body's ability to get nourishment. It's just crazy, absolute craziness. Especially if there's nobody's giving you the alternatives. Nobody's teaching you about the alternatives.
And they give them a bariatric vitamin, which I looked at it compared to what we have in the Tangy Tangerine, and it's like nothing. And I've had one doctor say, oh, there's too many B vitamins in that, don't take it. And
there's too many B vitamins. Okay, yeah. Look, what are you going to do? This is the world we're in. This is the world we're in. But we can take care of it ourselves. Yes, let's go, because we only have a few minutes here.
AJ, what question are you bringing in today?
Yeah, it's a little saddening to see what happens to people. Your people perish
for lack of knowledge. Yes.
So, maybe you can address my question on Monday. My question was melatonin's relationship to mitochondria.
That might be a Monday thing, but melatonin. Melatonin is a very interesting molecule. Very interesting molecule. And as we age, our melatonin levels drop. So as we age, melatonin becomes even more important to supplement with. Although when people supplement melatonin, they usually think of sleep, which of course it does help you sleep. However, melatonin is a major player in digestive system health. And in fact, melatonin is a major player in the health of all cells by virtue of mitochondria. Melatonin is made inside mitochondria. We have this idea of and it's true, melatonin is made in the pineal gland, but it's synthesized in almost every cell in the mitochondria. Why are the mitochondria making melatonin? Just for fun? No. The melatonin is acting locally inside the mitochondria, because the mitochondria, as we talked about on Monday, and again, we should probably not rush through this, AJ, maybe talk about it when we have more time, but the mitochondria are the essence of everything we're talking about. When we talk about energy, it's about the mitochondria. So all medicine is, if it's effective, is going to be mitochondrial medicine. All nutrition is going to be mitochondrial. If it's effective, it's going to be mitochondrial. It's about the mitochondria. And the reason I'm saying this is because you're going to hear more and more people saying, oh, take this supplement for your mitochondria and this. You don't take supplements for the mitochondria. That's dumb. You take supplements for the body. The body will handle the mitochondria. The mitochondria, and it's unfortunate that word is so awkward to say because it's a little intimidating, but really the mitochondria are how energy is made. We talked about it on Monday. I'm not going to belabor the point here today because it's very fascinating, but a little bit complicated. When we talk about too much energy getting into the body without enough nutrition into the body, and energy is calories, we're talking about the mitochondria. Our mitochondria are burning out. When anytime something is making energy, like a machine, like not in the body, but like a macroscopic machine, like your car, sparks are going to come out, right? That's just a natural way energy is produced. Sparks come out. There's a lot of sparks in the mitochondria. Mitochondria are working with energy that is to scale like lightning. It's really like lightning bolts of energy if you compare how tiny the mitochondria compared to the amount of energy they're dealing with. It's like lightning in there. So there's going to be little sparks that come out. So the body has ways of dampening or sponging up or protecting itself from the sparks. That's what the mitochondria, or that's what melatonin does. Melatonin is like a built-in spark anti-spark or spark suppression system. And that's why it's made inside the mitochondria. It neutralizes free radicals. It regulates what's called, I don't want to get too much or quantum chemistry, but it's called redox. You may have heard the term redox. Redox is the movement of everything in life is the movement of electricity at the quantum level. They call them electrons. It's on and off. It's all a game of hot potato. So you got a molecule, and I know I've said it before, but maybe not in a while. You got two Mickey Mouse ears, right? Remember our two Mickey Mouse ears? And everything that happens in life till the day you die, even after you die, everything in life is just these Mickey Mouse ears bouncing off and coming back on and bouncing off and coming back on like hot potato. Bounces off here, goes on here, bounces off there, comes on here. It's hard to do with my hands, but can you see what I'm saying here? Boom, 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 like hot potato. Okay? Like hot potato. Those little pieces of electricity that are hot potato are called electrons, and they're bouncing around. The bouncing around of electrons is technically called redox. Re for reduction. Reduction is when a Mickey Mouse ear goes onto something. Oxidation is when a Mickey Mouse ear comes off of something. And every time something goes onto something, there has to be a corresponding coming off of something. It's all on, off, on, off, on, off. Reduction, oxidation, reduction, oxidation. Melatonin acts to regulate this movement, to control the movement so it's not sparking all over the place. And it also, and in addition, it also stimulates other antioxidants. By the way, this is what we're talking about here is antioxidation. And melatonin also stimulates this glutathione enzyme that we talked about, and also SOD that's in our polymers. It also stimulates SOD. It also reduces the damage that's caused to the fats. All membranes, the body's made up of fats and water, right? The fats trap the water. Without the fats, you'd just be water. You'd be a puddle. The fats allow us to have structure. So the secret's in the fats always. The water is important too, but the fats are what control the shape of everything. They're the boundaries. In philosophically speaking, all transformation occurs at the membrane level. All action in the body is about the membranes, and the membranes are fatty. That's why fats are so important and so problematic and so relevant when it comes to disease. All of the fats are the key. And so melatonin protects the fat, protects all the fats inside the mitochondria. We talked about the mitochondria. Let me say this real quick. The mitochondria, it's hard to even get your mind around this thing. The mitochondria are so small that in a cell, which is a little blob, about 1/100th the size of a head of a pin, You can't even see it. It's invisible. And it's not a circle like you have on the blackboard in high school biology. It's a blob of jelly. What? This is what runs our body, a little blob of jelly? Come on, you guys. This is like this should blow everybody away. We're run by the little blobs of jelly, except there's 100 trillion of them. But it's even more intense. Within a little blob of jelly, you have thousands of mitochondria. And the mitochondria are independent organisms that live inside the cell. And the mitochondria, they're not just little dots. They have an internal structure. That's like a
and their own DNA.
And their own little genome. And please, you guys, I'm telling you this so we can all have this sense of awe about what we are, about what life is, about what the body is. So we can just be blown away by ourselves. Not this idea that we're just these sick, little, weak, fragile beings, but just completely floored in slack-jawed amazement at the nature of how we're put together. But you don't have to know it. Just eat less food. Just take your healthy blood sugar pack. Take your melatonin. Eat less calories. Go ketogenic. All the things we're talking about. I'm talking about the mitochondria. You asked about the mitochondria in the cells, and I love talking about it because it blows me away just to talk about it. And we should all be blown away, but you don't need to know it. Use it to just be in awe. Use it to become godly, to become spiritual. Use it so you can love yourself and love the nature of life. But you don't need to know it to get better. Does that make sense? You follow me?
Absolutely.
I love talking about it, but you don't need to know. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Ask me another question.
Do you have time for another question?
I guess it's 2:00. Real quick. We can do another question real quick.
Okay. Well,
there's a lot more to melatonin, by the way. It's anti-inflammatory. It's very important for skin health. A lot more to that, but for now, let's just talk about how it works with the mitochondria. And by the way, that's how methylene blue works. You guys are hearing methylene blue. That also supports mitochondrial health, helps control the movement of electricity in the mitochondria. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. I don't know which question is more important, but the one that I really want to know the answer to is Carrie. I think I saw she has her hand up. She has a client who is a dietary nutritionist who says that she is sensitive to citric acid in products, is allergic to it.
Nobody's allergic. Nobody is allergic to citric acid. That's not true. She may have a histamine response from citric acid. You can only be allergic, for the most part anyway, to proteins. It's proteins that trigger the immune reaction. There's no protein in citric acid. Nobody's allergic to citric acid. Nobody's allergic to oranges. Nobody's allergic to shellfish. What they're reacting to is ingredients or components. In the shellfish, they're reacting to certain components. Actually, I take it back about shellfish. There may be some proteins in shellfish, but glucosamine. People think they're allergic to glucosamine. So you're not allergic. Nobody's allergic to glucosamine. Nobody's allergic to citric acid. Nobody's allergic to strawberries. Nobody's allergic to oranges. However, these molecules can trigger a histamine response. That histamine response will make it look like an allergy. So you say, well, it's the same thing. No, because you can do something about the histamine response. The histamine responses typically start at, where do you think?
In the gut.
In the intestine. Yes, so it's true that functionally speaking, it may look like an allergy. So that's why people think they're allergic to these things. They'll break out, or they'll have rashes, or they'll have hives. It'll look like it's an allergic response, but it's not to the citric acid. It's to the histamine triggering of the citric acid. And you say, well, it's the same thing. No, it's not, because you can do something about the histamine response. The histamine response, again, work on the gut. There are also certain supplements, like, by the way, melatonin, for example, that will have antihistaminic properties. Vitamin C has antihistaminic properties. Endocannabinoids or cannabinoid CBD has antihistaminic properties. Zinc, quercetin, a whole bunch of things that have antihistaminic properties, and that's what you want to focus on. So yeah, it's functionally it's the same. You say, well, what the heck's the difference? You could do something about a histamine response. So you're not allergic to citric acid. And the only way somebody knows, when people say they're allergic to citric acid, it's not like they're taking a scoop of citric acid and eating it. They see citric acid in the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. How do you know it's not one of the other ingredients? What makes you think it's the citric acid? And is your allergic response intestinal problem that may be related to the hygroscopicity or the water absorbing properties of the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. So you're not allergic to citric acid. That's not how allergies work. But it could be a histamine response, in which case you want to do antihistaminic and digestive health strategies. And that's, by the way, true also about hay fever. People who get hay fever are typically high histamine producers at the level of the intestine. And while we're at it, long COVID and chronic Lyme disease are also associated with histamine responses. Oh, and while we're at it, menopausal symptoms are also associated with histaminic responses. And histamine can be either triggered by or contained in good foods. You know, we talked to those ladies a couple of weeks ago and all of a sudden she realized, oh my God, every time I have avocados, I get rashes, or I don't remember what she said, and she loved avocados. Avocados are notorious for initiating histamine responses.
So is there a difference between the citric acid from like the natural fruit versus a synthetic citric acid that's used as a preservative?
No, citric acid is citric acid is citric acid. It's a molecule and it has a shape. Where's Marty? This is citric acid. This is a molecule. This is citric acid, whether it comes from sugar or whether it comes from a factory and it's very easy to synthesize because it's just a common, very simple chemical structure. It's the same structure. This is what the body recognizes, is structure. So when you hear people say vitamin C is not really vitamin C, they don't know what they're talking about. Of course, it's just a structure. Now, natural vitamin C from citrus fruits and berries and such has cofactors with it that help the body use the vitamin C. That's true. But the vitamin C is just vitamin C. It's just ascorbic acid. It's like this. Same with cholesterol. There's no good cholesterol and bad cholesterol. It's just cholesterol. It's just a molecule. It has a shape. There's no good shape and bad shape. It's all cholesterol. See what I'm saying? A lot of this has to do with our lack of understanding of chemistry. And that's why I go to great lengths to try to talk about chemistry, because it's really about chemistry. It's not clinical chemistry, it's biochemistry. All right, I do have to go because it's a little bit late.
Okay.
And then
this might be a yes and no question.
Okay.
So we talked about kidneys, we talked about the liver. Do you support the spleen in the same way?
The spleen filters the blood. Spleen's an amazing. There's no spleen cancer. Have you ever heard of spleen cancer? It's the one organ that doesn't get cancer.
No, not
Very
spleen.
interesting. Let's talk about the spleen on Monday. When are we doing on Monday night?
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
spleen is very cool.
On Monday.
Yes. AJ.
Oh,
what?
Pharmacist Ben is on Coast to Coast next Tuesday.
Oh yeah, I'm on Coast to Coast. That's right.
Coast to Coast on Tuesday. To get the co-hosts up with us. Yes, Tuesday night, Pharmacist Ben, midnight. Is it 10 to 12 Pacific, 11 to 1 Mountain, 12 to 2
Central, 1 to 3 Eastern.
And 1 to 3 Eastern time on Coast to Coast. You can go to ksco.com and click on the listen live at those times.
Okay, I got to go, you guys. Bye, everybody.
On Coast to Coast. Thank you so much, Pharmacist Ben, Fuchs. Folks, I hope you learned something. We covered a lot today. A lot of things that people ask questions about, that even if they don't know that there's a question to be asked, they're dealing with something that's going on with their kidneys or their liver or their melatonin and mitochondria or just citric acid. A lot, and digestion and why people can't go. So share this program with somebody you know. I'm sure you know somebody that this program may be just that eye opener, flipping the switch, saying, okay, no, I don't supplement. Yes, maybe I am, eating a lot of the wrong foods and not getting the nutrition. The body is not chemical deficient when it comes to pharmaceuticals. It's nutrient deficient, folks. So share this program with somebody that you know, especially if you love them. My name is Becca Dukes. As a certified holistic health coach and also certified naturopathic practitioner, it is my honor and privilege to bring shows like this to you wherever it is that you are listening and watching to. So thank you so much for joining us here on Daily with Doc and Becca. I am so thankful, just full of gratitude that I have a team to help bring this program to you. As on the screen right now, we have Marilyn, who does amazing dictation, and she's got it in the chat, which is only available if you're here live with us. Thank you, Marilyn, for keeping your connective tissue supported so that you can continue typing, my dear, as she is Speedy Fingers. We also have Sherry, part of our technical crew, keeping an eye on the different platforms, making sure that we're still streaming, bringing in questions from those different platforms. Thank you, Sherry. We have Ruth Ellen, who is my executive production manager, who is putting all of the Zoom together, putting the graphics, pushing it out onto the different platforms. Thank you so much, Ruth Ellen, for keeping an eye on that and making that happen. We have Albert, who's joining us from South Africa, letting people in as he is our gatekeeper. Thank you so much, Albert, keeping an eye on stuff. And also AJ, who is, if you want to blame somebody for us being everywhere, he has broad shoulders, he'll take it. So I am very thankful that we are able to meet people where they're at around the world and getting information to help them be more empowered and reclaim their authority when it comes to having a better health journey. Because folks, U-turns are allowed, they're encouraged, but maybe not by other industries. So we're looking at the body, we're feeding the body, and we want to help you thrive. That's what Daily with Doc and Becca is all about. So thank you again for joining us here on Daily with Doc. Monday, we've got a great show with Pharmacist Ben and Coach AJ. And Tuesday, Pharmacist Ben on Coast to Coast with George Norrie, which is one of the programs that a lot of our people have listened to, with Dr. Wallach, even in the Art Bell days. So super excited, as that is how we found AJ, and I think Albert, and I think Sherry, and I think Marilyn, and Ruth Ellen too. So gotta love George. Everybody have a great day. And until next time, tomorrow, join us as we're going to have Dr. Judy Reynolds on with us again, talking about our pets and things that we can do to help support them. I think I didn't check the calendar. Okay, I'm wrong, but it's going to be Dr. Judy Reynolds, and she's going to give us a great presentation. See you later, everybody. Have a great one. Bye for now.
This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. Statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We're honored to continue and share the teachings of the founding father of science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach.